evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night even, wherever you might be in the world where you're watching the Synth Network live. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us yet again. I apologise for the slightly odd lighting in here. It's because the sun now is coming through at a different angle, and I need to get some proper blackout blinds in here. But anyway, welcome to the show. I hope you've been well. I hope you had a great week since last we saw each other. And we've got a whole bunch of news topics. We didn't really have much for a little while, and then all of a sudden a few things have kind of popped up in the last sort of 48 hours. So we do have some stuff. I won't say lots of stuff, but we do have some stuff to talk about over the coming couple of hours. First of all, let me welcome everybody that's in the chat room, watching live and contributing to the content of the show, and we'll bring you in as and when if you have anything interesting to say. We'll bring that onto the screen, and of course if you have any questions for us, do put a big capital Q in front of your comments and make sure that we see it and put it into the right place. So let's do the usual stuff. First of all, get it out of the way. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe and share. Just do it. If you like us, if you want to comment, leave a comment below in the comment section if you're watching on catch up, or you can talk to us through Facebook and YouTube and Twitch, where we're all broadcasting, and we're also broadcasting live on Twitter. And maybe we'll do threads once they allow us to stream to that particular platform. So yeah, do all of that. That'd be fantastic. If you want to help fund the show and keep us going on air, because that's exactly how we do it. This stuff costs money, and you are incredibly generous every week. We get lovely little donations from you, either in the chat via super chat and super stickers, or via the thanks button underneath the video. Of course, you can also donate to us. The link is underneath in the description, but there it is. You can leave some money in our PayPal account. That would be lovely if you would, but you don't have to. This show is completely free, and you don't have to pay for it. If you want to find us on social media, as I said before, we're on Twitter for the foreseeable. We're on Instagram, which means we should be on Threads soon. I'm trying to figure out how to manage multiple accounts on Threads. I don't think it's possible yet. So once that happens, I'll be able to open up our Threads channel for you if you want to go there, because 30 million people signed up for it yesterday, which is a pretty astonishing number. Of course, the main place that we all hang out is in the Facebook group, so do come and join us there. And if you do join us, the system will ask you 3 very simple questions to prove that you're human. So just answer those, all 3 of those, and then we'll let you in. That's not a problem. And of course, you can see us here on YouTube. As I said before, stick a big capital Q in front of your question if you have one, for myself or my fellow co-hosts. And that's all the housekeeping done and out of the way. So it's Friday the 7th of July, and it's definitely summer here in the UK. It's obviously winter down under, because they're just different, aren't they? You have to be. But they have lovely winters, apparently. My colleague has buggered off to Tasmania, as he normally does, for a couple of months during the winter. He takes a sojourn down there. It's very nice. So wherever you are in the world, I hope the weather's very nice. I hope you're having a wonderful time and got a great weekend to look forward to. First of all, before we do anything else, let's bring in our esteemed, or my esteemed, should I say. Well, there might be your esteemed colleagues as well, but they're mine for sure. First of all, welcome him back, still in Ben's considerable size 9s. It's Mr. Andrew Longhurst.
Ooh,
hello, how are you?
Look at that, I'm very good. It's rather lovely out there, but yeah, I hope you're all enjoying some weather, getting in the sun and spending some time out there. It's just so nice. It's been a bit of a miserable weather week, lots of wind and rain and whatever else, but it's lovely today. I hope you're all enjoying it.
Yeah, it is very, very nice indeed. Thank you for joining us and for standing in again. It's much appreciated. Your knowledge and wisdom and wit are fully appreciated.
Hang on, are you sure you're not mistaking me for someone else?
Oh, sorry, I was talking about this guy.
Oh, him.
Where is he? There he is.
I knew you would. There we go.
Oh,
what?
God. What?
Hello.
Oh, mate. Yeah, sorry I'm late. No. Just trying to get the camera software to work.
Oh,
yay. Now, I've had a day, mate.
You've had a day.
I've got the
OBX,
GS.
wasn't it? Or OBA? Or was it a 4 voice? I can't remember.
No, GS. No, actually, everything was abandoned because we had a what would you call it? An epiphany with the GS1.
Oh.
It's working. It's done.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What
Card
did you
reader
do?
reads cards and everything.
What
Did
was this, what was it?
We're still not quite sure.
Oh, it's one of those fixes.
Yeah, where you kick it really hard and so
Yeah. Oh, I had one of those
Leave it.
last weekend. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No, I know. Oh God, I don't know if I should I say anything about it. No, I probably should. No, I probably shouldn't say anything about this.
Save that for the after show.
Yeah, because it's like
Yes, there's a lot of that at the moment.
certain
Lot of
Facebook post.
Oh,
Get off my lawn!
Why I oughta?
Yeah.
Somebody behind you wants a
Bye.
ball.
See ya.
Oh no, not that one. The other one.
Oh, the other one.
Molly.
She doesn't know. She doesn't. Nelly doesn't know what.
Nelly. Sorry, I always call him Molly.
Oh,
Sorry.
by the way,
That's why she kicks me in the nuts.
your favourite Noah.
Yes. Oh, how is he?
He's doing well.
Good.
He has a calcimated something back leggy.
Yes. Oh, I know about those. Yeah.
He's on painkillers. He's a bit more sprightly, but looking at him, you'd never know. He's such a
No.
bloody happy git.
He is a happy
all
dog.
the time. But apparently he's been in excruciating pain, but he stands there wagging his tail at you. Twat.
Is a calcimated something back leg, is that sort of essentially doggy arthritis?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, from some previous injury that he may have had up in the mountains in Spain at some point.
I need
Yeah.
one of those little guitar stabs.
Yeah.
Bing, 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 bing.
With some casters.
Ding, 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 ding.
That's it.
What are ya?
There we go.
Yeah, all that.
Oh dear.
Sorry,
well,
Noah.
listen.
Take the piss out of you.
I wondered, does he bark in Spanish?
Si. Si.
Anyway, gentlemen, thank you for joining as always. And I do need to say a big thank you to Mr. Andrew Brooks, to Mr. Ben Musines, although he does have a proper name, but we'll just call him Ben Musines because that's what he is in the chat. And if you haven't checked out Ben's Musines website, and I'm sure anybody that has the remotest interest in electronic music, and particularly the historical side of electronic music and all of that stuff, you need to get yourself over to the Musines website where Ben has lovingly archived a gazillion old electronic music magazines from back in the day, and it's a brilliant resource. I use it all the time. It's fantastic. Go there and donate some money. If you can't donate some money, maybe donate some magazines that he's asking for, because he's always on the lookout. So big up to him. Big up to Andrew Brooks, of course, who is another one of our moderators, whose album with the wonderful Grace Griffin has come out today on Sinners Music. Sinners Music, of course,
brilliant.
is run by our lovely Ian J. Cole. So go over to Bandcamp. I'm sure Andrew will post a link in the chat if he hasn't already, and go and buy Andy and Grace's new album. And I'm looking forward to meeting up with Grace in a couple of weeks' time as her guest at Latitude. So that's going to be really, really cool. And I haven't seen him appear yet, although he might well be lurking in the background. But we do have another moderator in the form of Andy Synth Addict. There he is. He's there. He's definitely there. So first of all, thank you to all three of our moderators who have the easiest job in the world, because we have the nicest audience in the world. And I don't think they've ever had to do anything to kick anybody out or bring them back into line. All they do is they just sort of lurk in the background and they post all the links to everything. So if you're watching the show and you want a link to the thing that we're talking about, these guys post it into the chat on 2 or 3 occasions as we're talking about it. So you can go off and there you go. And Andy has already put the link for the album. It's called Reunited, and it's on the Sinners Music UK Bandcamp page. There it is. It's in the chat. Go click on it. Go and buy it. I intended to get that at some point this weekend.
Yeah, as soon as I earn some money, I will buy it as well. Because I'm so broke.
Talking of money, I do have to give some shout outs already. My word, where did all this lot come from? Well, first of all, he doesn't have to because he's a moderator, but he always pays for the privilege. Thank you, Andrew. I'll take that $5 and I'll go and buy your album. Thank you to that. Richard Pennington, $4.99. Let the weekend truly commence. Well, I'm glad this is where you kick it all off. Another moderator has given us some more money. $4.99 from Ben at Musings. Thank you very much indeed. And third moderator, they pay us to do the job. How amazing.
Robbie, mention everybody in the chat.
Yeah, that's a good
Just
idea.
promote everybody in the chat.
Everybody.
There you go.
Yeah, everybody can be a moderator. Yeah. Steve
What's
Sims.
Barbados this time of year?
Steve Sims, who goes by the name of IIX Orb, 2X Orb, or I don't know what that is. Thank you, Robbie and Co, for what you guys put together each week. Easily worth almost a whole fiver. Thank you for the $4.99. Tane MLH, I think I get that right every time. Give Dr. Metley a smacking fund. Hang on, where's my wallet? Actually, where is my wallet? Oh, there it is. Okay. Thank you very much indeed for that. And finally, all the way from Australia, we were taking the mickey out of them earlier. No, we weren't. Thank you, Mr. Stephen Smith, for your wonderful $50 Australian. You are a generous old bugger, and we love you for it.
We do. Thank you.
I think that is everyone that has donated into the show at the moment. So thank you very much indeed. You are lovely, lovely, wonderful people.
So we can stop now then?
Yeah, we can go home.
We can go home. Great.
That's
Great.
it. That's it. Yeah, absolutely.
Can I just make one point before we go too much further?
Go for it.
You haven't said hello yet to...
No.
Oh, the penguin. Sorry.
No.
Sorry, penguin of death.
The penguin of death.
Oh, that's coming for you now, Rob.
I saw a great meme, but it's one of those visual gags, so I'm not going to bother. But it had to do with a penguin skeleton. It was, you know, those little coat hangers you get for babies' clothes.
What?
Yeah.
But they've got the shoulders, but they've also got the body bit.
Yeah.
And then you lay that, it looks like a penguin skeleton. It's a visual gag, and I really ought to have prepared that. I have got a great visual gag for everyone a little bit later on. I've worked really, really hard.
Are you not showing that off again, are you?
In this.
He's very worried.
Yeah, so look, no hands.
Want to see my impression of an elephant?
There has been some music technology news this week, do you know?
Has there?
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Just
What are we talking about that for?
Oh, well, I have no idea. Thank you for this shameless plug again, Andrew Brooks in the chat. Well done. Talking dirty floppies. So that was a running joke in the show last night. Look what I got today: 30 double-sided, double-density 5 1/4-inch diskettes. Massive thank you to my good friend Chris for sorting me out with those, and also a head cleaner, which is invaluable.
I've got a lawnmower.
Yeah, but I also noticed that you've had a reset on your chessboard.
Yes.
And now the weather's getting hot again, so you never know. Live during the show.
Well, I'm looking at this side, and it's starting to bow out slightly.
Oh.
And one of them's got a big gap around it, so it's
We need
apparently
to-
shrunk.
We need to get a grid, don't we? And do Kent
yeah.
Studio battleships.
Yeah.
Right, I guess we should, maybe talk about synthesizers
Go on
for a
then.
little bit, or related topics. I'm just trying to think where we should start. I suppose
Swindon?
What's steaming lump? Sorry, what did Korg release today?
Oh well, no, we'll talk about that later.
Oh,
'cause I think
okay.
that's
Later.
a bigger
Seriously,
thing.
I don't know. I didn't look.
You didn't? Oh, right. Okay. Well, this will be a genuine surprise.
Yeah,
and,
I
and
want
your
to
reaction,
be surprised on the show.
Okay. Nobody say anything in the chat. Please don't say anything in the chat. Don't tell him.
Yeah.
And it's
I would
not,
actually-
and it's not that Kent never actually researches the stuff that's sent through to him. It's not that at all.
No, he
He's
never
diligent.
researches.
He's diligent.
Never what?
Never. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Research.
yeah.
What's that? What's that mean?
Keep sniffing the glue, putting the things up. That's
Well,
what
I can tell you what the Korg thing wasn't. It wasn't
Okay.
the Modwave SE, which we all hoped might be, or not hoped, should we say, expected would be
Okay.
released this week,
Okay.
given the previous 2 weeks. Maybe they're saving that one specially. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So actually, let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Let's talk Behringer. Okay, let's get this one out of the way, because there was something earlier in the week, and then about an hour or two before we came on air, they had a little social media poop and put a couple of things onto their Facebook page, and I will be checking to see if they've added anything else, because you never blooming know. So first of all, let's talk about this one. This actually wasn't announced by Behringer. This came, I think it was Matrix Synth that it was first seen on. But this is the Behringer equivalent. Is that a pleasant way of saying it? I don't. it's their equivalent of the Korg SQ10. It's the BQ10, the imaginatively titled BQ10, which is based on the SQ10 analog sequencer. Let's just make that a little larger for you there. So there it is. It has a familiar look to it, although it has only 8 columns instead of the regular 12 that was featured on the original Korg. Although it does appear that there are 24 steps, because there were 3 rows of rotaries on the Korg of 12 knobs even, but total of 24 steps. But this apparently still does 24 steps, but in 3 rows of 8. So I think you're still getting the same number of steps, just in slightly different organisation. But anyway, so this wasn't even announced by or shared on their Facebook page by Behringer. This just happened to pop up in, I think it was Matrix Synth, and there's the original, which is it's a lovely thing. It goes very nicely with your MS-10s and 20s and so on and so forth. I think Alex Ball's got one of these and does some.
I've got one in the garden.
In the garden, as
no, seriously, there is one sitting in the garden.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Well, go and get it, because its value might shoot up a little bit.
I might bring it indoors then. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Look. So, Korg analog sequencer, interesting. I mean, I don't really know too much about these. I've never used one. I've never seen one. I need to come around to your garden. But yeah, an interesting little addition that would go. Is it the K2 that they did, their little desktop version? They did a Behringer K2, I think it was. Korg have actually got an SQ1. Of course, they've got the SQ64 as well, which is their current sort of stuff. But this is kind of interesting, but really, again, we don't know too much about it because it is just a leak. But any thoughts on this one?
Well, it's a sequencer.
It's a sequencer, yeah. It doesn't really...
because everybody's screaming out for a sequencer at the moment, because because nobody's making a sequencer anywhere, are there? There are no step sequencers out there at all. This happens to be a black one, so cool. There you go.
Yeah. Not a lot really you can say about it. Andy, anything to add?
I wonder what it sounds like.
Yeah, I can't. I won't know until I hear it. It's. Yeah, Behringer. Let's get over the Behringer thing just for a tiny moment. I'm sure I'll growl about it again in a minute. It's clearly it's a copy of the original. Is there a need for it? I suppose it's going to come in cheap like all the other Behringer stuff, although maybe not, because chip prices have gone up. I actually still I've always liked hardware analog sequencing. I like it a lot. There's something very tactile about doing it and getting it slightly wrong or off or whatever. It's a glorious analog sequencing can be glorious. I used to have a 1601 many years ago, the ARP sequencer. But just looking at it, it looks like it's going to sequencers like that. You need to dig in deep and dirty and be squiddling and doing things with them a lot. That doesn't look to me like it's going to last more than 5 minutes. Have you had any experience of Behringer's other stuff at where there's lots of knobs and twiddlers on Kent, and are they have you seen the build quality?
I've seen the build quality on some of the Behringer stuff. It varies dramatically from one end of the scale to the other, weirdly. The thing is, though, see, the thing about the SQ10 was, it was designed to sit next to the 50 and the 20 and or the 10, and had the similar shape. And of course, it had I think the Hertz per octave in and out, as well as the CVs, because I think the MS-20s were Hertz per octave, but I could be wrong.
So it allowed you to work with lots of other non.
So it allowed you to mess around with a lot of other things. Yeah. So it was a bit like the ARP one in some respects as well.
Yeah.
So if it's nice and cheap, then fine. If you want to have it in that particular format, but bringing out another sequencer, tits on a ball, isn't it? Really, there's so many out there. It really, there is, isn't it? It's just so many out there. It's
our phrase of the week. Tits on a ball.
Oh no, it's early days yet. My God, I've got loads of them for you. But basically it is. It's quite. Yeah, it's quite sort of like. Okay, so you've copied that. There was no need to copy that at all.
Well, what I don't understand is if you can do it. I mean, well, no, I do understand it. It's because people will recognise it, and they'll want to buy a cheap version of it.
Yeah.
But why, if you're going to all that trouble, Behringer have got some fairly bright people working for them, unless they've sacked them all, which I did hear some rumours about, but I don't know and I can't confirm. So you didn't hear me say that. There are indeed team. But you'd have thought for a company that's doing this, you could have taken this so much further and done something significant with this, really significant, and it would have been a product in and of it, in its own right. Of all things, why a sequencer? They're going to sell how many of those? I don't understand why you wouldn't try and seize the market, and I don't understand why they haven't just kind of pivoted now, and started doing their own stuff, because clearly they can design. They can do electronic design. If they and actually even the fronts, the layout, the panel layouts are pretty good. They're fairly ergonomic, and all you have to do is put the right components on and make sure they don't fall off, and they're on to something of a winner. I don't understand why they've bought this out rather than doing their own sequence. So I don't get it.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even out. It's there somewhere, and somebody leaked it, and it didn't even come out on Behringer's.
So it might actually never come out.
Yeah, just like a lot of stuff. And yet again today they've announced, well, not announced, they've shown two products that are still not built. They're prototypes. They're concepts. And let's have a look at one of those. Let me see if I can make sure I choose the right page. Here we go. So this one's kind of interesting. This is the Polysource. I wonder what that's inspired by. But this comes in that same format, that little desktop unit format. So it looks like they've kind of repurposed the underpinnings of the new Pro 800 on the left there with the program Select Bank. That looks pretty much similar. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously a take on the Moog Source. I guess most famously known for being the baseline on Blue Monday, I think, by New Order. Only got a monophonic output, looking at the back of it there, which is...
But that's what it was.
That's what it was, but as you said to that previous one, why not improve on that and give us a stereo output, which I think a lot of people have been saying. But that's an interesting one, because that's never... we don't really have any sort of equivalents or homages to the Moog Source anywhere, whether it's in software or hardware.
We don't do it
because we don't need one.
Sorry?
Well,
we don't need one.
We don't need one. No, that's a good point.
There were an awful lot of them banging around for a while, and we all know that the membranes on them were fairly awful. So I'm not sure they ever got the go they could have done. If those had been switches rather than membranes, they may have lasted a bit longer. Or physical switches rather than membrane switches, which doesn't make any sense at all. But I think you know what I mean.
Well, it was essentially a Rogue with presets, with memory.
Yes,
essentially, wasn't it? And it was an alright keyboard. They would, once they got old, power supplies used to blow up and all the rest of it. It suffered from all sorts of issues.
And was the original a mono synth?
Yeah.
So this obviously, this is a 8-voice poly according to Behringer. So Andrew Brooks.
Now this opens a whole new can of very polished and eccentric worms.
Yes.
When you polify a monosynth, it's not always the best result you'd think you'd get.
Yeah.
Polysynths tend to have voices that are a little bit more reserved and laid back, so they work better when you're playing them polyphonically.
Together, yeah, absolutely.
So unless you want to go down, you could go down the memory mode route.
Yeah.
But
I wonder if is it multi-timbral, so does it play across 8 channels? 8 MIDI channels. Does it receive on 8 MIDI? So it's just a poly version of this.
Nobody knows because, as they say, it's just it's a concept, really.
So this might not come out either.
Yeah, this
okay.
This is just a picture. This is a drawing.
This is the equivalent of making up shit as we go along, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
As long as we know where we are.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to say a big hello to Chris from CP Magnetic Media Limited. Those floppy disks that I was talking about earlier. This is the gentleman that I acquired them from. Chris.
It's his fault.
It's his fault, but actually, Chris is one of the good guys. Chris produces a wide range. We're not getting paid for this, although maybe Chris we should. No. Chris produces a wide range of USB floppy drives. So if you have a floppy drive on your machine, whether it's a QX1, whether it's a DX7 Mark II, whether it's an Emax, I've got two of his units but one of each of my Emaxes. If there's a floppy drive on it, Chris does a replacement Gotek, but not only does he do the drives, he custom builds the kits so they are literally plug and play. So you just open it up, and it comes with all the instructions. You just connect them up, and the machine believes there's a floppy drive, and he'll supply you usually with a 16 gigabyte USB stick in there, which generally, depending on the unit, comes with a wide selection, a very large selection in some cases, of sounds and patches and programs ready to go. So just a quick plug there, because when anybody gives me great service, and Chris has given me many years of great service, that sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? He's supplying me with drives and screens and floppy disks and so on and so forth, and advice as well. Go and see.
And it's always nice to thank someone for putting their floppy in your hand.
He put 30 floppies in my hand.
Easy.
And a cleaner.
Well,
because of
course,
you need the cleaner afterwards.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was number 2, metaphorically speaking, of the Bogue Behringer.
Hogue.
That's the one. The Behringer announcements. But there was one final one, of course. I've seen people trying to get a rise out of me in chat. Excuse me, just a moment. Excuse me. There we go. Right. The third and final one, which was announced. I say announced. There's no announcement. Actually, I have to say that what Behringer were doing, or whoever's running the Behringer Facebook page, has a very bad sense of comedy, because it really isn't funny at all. But let me just bring this up on the screen for you now. This, ladies and germs, is allegedly a prototype, and according to the Facebook page, apparently it's not on any roadmap. There is no business plan, and even Uli Behringer doesn't know about it. This is the BX700, which is being built into that awful form factor that they started with a whole bunch of other machines that still haven't come out. But the BX700 is, they've gone and done it, finally. It's a clone, allegedly, of the DX7, except it has been given a CS80 filter. It also has a drum machine built in, because everybody wanted a DX7 clone with a CS80 filter and a drum machine. Apparently. But
only it hasn't been given a CS80 filter. It's been given a filter that approximates a CS80
filter. Yes, indeed.
Which one?
So according to the blurb, it says it's a DX7 on steroids, and it has an authentic CS80 analog filter, a drum machine built in, and a few other cool features. Now, I want to bring this to Wagoo's attention, because I know he'll love this. What's that?
Oh dear!
Right there, in just to the left of the screen.
B-Ray.
B-Ray. They've cloned the D-Beam. Allegedly.
Okay.
So, yeah. So not only is it a DX7 clone, not only does it have a CS80 filter, not only does it have a drum machine as well, but it also has a wavy handy thing.
A wavy handy thing.
A wavy handy thing.
So does that make nice modulation sounds as you throw it in the bin?
What?
I mean, seriously.
No,
I mean, you said on steroids, don't you mean on meth? Doesn't it? This is the thing that's going to be downstairs raiding your fridge while you're asleep.
Yes.
But here's the thing, right? I kind of, we don't know if it's ever coming out or anything, but maybe it is, or maybe it isn't, etc. I actually quite want to see what they've done with it. I quite want to hear what they've. Yeah. I'm interested to see what they've done with it and what the new thing. I hate that form factor. I think it looks blooming awful, but it's a better form factor than the original DX7 in terms of controlling stuff. So
take that back. Take that back right now. Stop before you say something you're going to regret.
No. I love the DX7. But there's, it didn't have lots of knobs. It had one slider and lots of buttons.
2 sliders, actually.
2 sliders.
Well, yeah.
Volume and data. I mean, they went to town, mate. I tell you, they didn't
how
hang
much
about.
What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want?
Jesus, I mean,
Yeah, but I'm interested. I'm interested to see what it sounds like, but only from primarily from an oral designed sort of point of view. I'm just interested and intrigued. Who knows?
This isn't coming out, Eddie. Don't worry. It'd be too embarrassed. It's going to have a coat over it, said as it's the car.
They revealed a whole bunch of stuff, didn't they? There was a JP8000 clone. There was a few others that they released, they didn't release, teased in this form factor. None of those have ever come out yet, allegedly. Do you think they'll send me one?
Not now.
No, not now.
It looks like the bastard love child of a stylophone that was once endorsed by who was then a very famous celebrity.
It's probably got the same cachet, hasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
And they've had to redesign since then. I mean, and what else? I'm just trying to think. It's My Little Pony beatbox. It looks sodding awful.
If this comes out and it's like $99, which is a price that they've kind of bandied around for these small things. If it is not, then I might just buy one for shits and giggles, really. And I might be pleasantly surprised.
No, you won't.
Yeah. Might be.
Yeah.
Nah.
But look, everything we've just talked about is pie in the sky. It's just pictures on a social media page. That none of this stuff exists. And that's by Behringer's own admission. None of this stuff actually exists yet. They're
Nor
just
does the anaglyph, but it looks better than that.
Well, quite, yeah. They're just throwing this stuff out there because that's what they do. But look, for comedy factor alone, a DX7 clone with a D beam. That's
sorry.
B-Ray. A B-Ray.
B-Ray.
Yeah. So I think somebody said, well, they've got a Blu-ray drive in the back.
Yeah.
That B-Ray thing is intriguing, I have to say.
A pew ray.
Yeah, pew pew
pew pew.
Interesting. So yeah, look, keep an eye out for these. We'll expect to see these in our shop somewhere around 2072 at the current rate. But who knows? We shall see. Although this does smack of it does confirm the rumor that Behringer have sacked their entire R&D department, because I don't think much research or development has gone into that.
And their stylist department as well, actually.
Yeah. I mean, they've even tried to ape the colours badly.
Yeah.
But there you go.
I hope the guy has enough time to clean the floors after he's designed it.
It's a very... It just looks horrible. It's a terrible design. The colours... they haven't aped it badly. They've got 2 buttons that look approximately...
They'll just come back and say, well, it's a prototype. Things can change. You can change it. You can join our forums.
Does that look like a... Does that look like a
worse.
ribbon? Does that look like a ribbon on the front there?
It does, yes.
See, all of a sudden...
Well, it's pitch bend, isn't it? I mean, it's pointing. If you look to the left, you've got the VCF mod and pitch bend, so you can use that as a, opening and closing the filter or using the modulator. So it's like, like these Arturia things that have, touch stuff. But there you go.
If they were brave enough, if you're brave enough, Behringer, send us one to have a look at.
It'd be funny to get a photograph of that sat atop a DX1. That would be quite.
Wouldn't it just?
I think I would probably buy one just to be able to do that, and then I'd give it away.
You give away the DX1? Honestly, what are you like, Rob?
Yeah,
Yes,
Matt's
go on.
got it right when you asked GPT to design
Yes.
an FM synth.
Well done, Matt.
Well done, yes, indeed. Yeah, there you go. So there's our Behringer trio of the week.
Poor
Yeah,
Tristan
it's-
Caver. Poor
yeah,
Tristan
so-
Caver just
sorry,
jumped
Tristan.
on. Oh, to be
Sorry,
honest
Tristan.
about that. Yeah.
We do apologise, but there you go. We have to report this stuff. It's our obligation. Does it have Dobley?
Yeah. For those of a nervous disposition, please look
Yes,
away now.
Look away now. Yes. There you go. Anyway, so some interesting things coming out of the Behringer social media camp,
I
but
bet.
nothing is confirmed. And maybe whilst we're on air, they'll announce something else. They tend to do that sort of randomly. But there you go. Behringer News of the Week. We should have a title for that. I haven't got anything. Oh, you've got one, Ken. You've got a stinger that we could use for...
I'm sure we have. Hang on. No, we haven't.
No, we haven't. Okay, fair enough.
How about...
Oh,
Oh, very good. Very good.
there we go. Yeah,
Very
that's
good.
very good. Very good indeed.
Well, that didn't
So,
work.
don't sweat it. Yes, it's not a big deal. Let's see. What shall we talk about now? Let's get
There you
oh,
go.
there you go.
There you go.
Quality YouTube viewing. For you
Took me
all.
hours to produce that.
Welcome everyone in the chat that's joined us since we began. That includes Dr. Manny Fernandez is in the chat, everyone. If you want to come and meet Dr. Manny Fernandez, he will be at Synthfest this year in Sheffield on the 7th of October, and I will have him on stage. I will be working with him on stage. Yeah, that. No,
Oh,
no.
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
Will you be putting your floppy in his hand? I don't know. We
Floppies
covered
will be
this.
involved.
Okay. I
Yes,
just
they
thought
will
I'd
be
ask.
involved.
He's a doctor.
He is a doctor.
Thank
He's
God.
a doctor.
He'll bring it back to life.
All right, here we go. Let's get talking about synth again. So our good friend Tom over at sorry,
Yeah,
man.
please. Now. Now wait.
And alcohol rub.
Okay, yeah,
All of it.
or just
Tongs.
alcohol.
Yeah.
Just
Use
alcohol.
the, use the tongs.
And
Yeah.
lube.
Forceps.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, but how do you put it back in? I use the tongs. Go on.
Our
Go
good
on,
friend Tom over at Synth Anatomy broke some news today that famed Italian synth and organ manufacturer of yesteryear, who are still, surprisingly, still going and making stuff, are going to be later this year bringing out a new version of the Crewmaster Spirit, which
Really?
I believe, am I right in saying that this is... this Bob Moog had something to do with this.
A little, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is a kick-ass monosynth.
Yeah.
It is.
This is a babe.
Well,
among
shall we
them.
have a listen? Because I found a video. Actually, I didn't find. Tom put a video. There isn't any. There's nothing concrete about this yet. Tom has kind of broken. This is a bit of an exclusive, but he has confirmed that there will be this new Crewmaster Spirit, which is 40 years old this year, coming later on this year. But he did share a video, which I do have just about here. Now I just want to make sure that I get rid of the adverts first. This was Perfect Circuit from about 8 years ago. They put their video on just showing what the Crewmaster Spirit could do. So let's have a quick butchers at that. That's
Very.
Anyway, that's enough of that. If you want to go and watch the rest of that video, it's on the Perfect Circuit channel on YouTube. Got to be careful now. Just even playing stuff like that, you get copyright claims. Last week, we got a copyright claim on the Claude Debussy piece, which of course must be in the public domain by now anyway, when BBC Symphony Orchestra piano, and we played a little clip. We played the trailer, 58-second trailer, and got a bit of a copyright claim, which has since been released. So I'm sure you'll be glad to know that. So Krumar Spirit does look like it's a mini Moog that was handed over to one of those late 70s, early 80s Italian car designers like Bertoni or Pininfarina or Giugiari. I think it's can't remember, never can pronounce that one properly, and I'm bloody Italian. And it looks like they've that's what they did, is they took the kind of a mini Moog and just styled it out a little bit. But it does sound like a nasty in a very nice way little synth. I mean, Kent, can you tell us a little bit about the Krumar Spirit?
Well, I restored one, but it's a long time ago, and I'm trying to remember. But I remember once it was fixed, and I had to go through it just to make sure everything was working, everything was in tune, and all the rest of it. And I ended up playing it for about 5 hours.
Wow!
It's sort of like everything you want from a Mini, everything you want from a Pro One, everything you want from a Whiteface Odyssey, in one place, and then it gave you more. But it's it was a beautiful machine. I don't understand how they didn't sell.
Yeah. Well,
I know they were a bit pricey, but but it had more to offer than a lot of the things that were in the same price bracket. So, but oh man, I'd be well stoked if this comes back out again.
Well, according to Tom, and I have absolutely no reason to doubt his sources, but yeah, apparently it's going to be coming back to celebrate 40 years since the original came out in '83. Yeah, no availability or price at the moment, so you can go. Krumar still do have their website, krumar.it, and go and bookmark their page and see what happens. But yeah, Andrew, did you ever play around with one of these? I've got to admit, I have absolutely zero experience with one of these.
I did play around once. Someone brought one into a studio I was in when I first started out, either in '83 or '84. No, later than that, I think. And I was like you. They brought it in. It was a late evening session. They went off to come back in. They went off and they were going to come back in the next morning. And I just started playing with it. And this was about 10 o'clock at night, something like that. And all of a sudden, there's birds tweeting. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But I couldn't get hold of one. I think it was 80s radio. I might be wrong about that, but astonishing sound. It is. You could do weird things. I discovered you could do weird stuff with the LFO. You could modulate the LFO, which was modulating something else. So you could get into some really, really clangorous sounds. And the growl on it, the filters. It's got 2 filters. Astonishing. And it had 3 control wheels, as I recall.
Yeah.
Is that still? I think
it
that's
is.
still the case.
Yeah.
It just did so much, and every time you flicked, you sort of go, oh no, I'll flick this switch now and see what it does, and it became a completely different machine again. It actually reminded me of the OB1 as well. It was, the OB1 was a good machine, but this was better. Yeah. This was way better. So, and it was quite expensive, as I recall, but. Of all the things that have come out of late, aside from the Mini Moog, this is the one that's got me. This has really got me. Yeah, I'd like this. I'd have it. Definitely.
I want to see how much it is first.
I don't care how much it is.
Okay.
Well, if it comes out at £2,000, like some of £2.5 grand, like some of them have, then no. If it comes out at a reasonable.
Yeah,
I don't know what's
2K's reasonable. 2K's reasonable for that. Honest to God, it's the I suppose you could refer to it as the other Synthicon. Where the Synthicon was more musical and more powerful and did a lot more than the Mini did, but it just didn't catch on the way that the Mini did. And this is the same thing. The Krumar was sort of hit the market about roughly the same time as digital was really starting to get some traction.
Yes, it was 83. It was the same
Yeah.
year as the DX7, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
there you go. So
Yeah,
it was up against some really, really big girls. But yeah, it was for that. Unfortunately, it was overlooked and missed. It was only until after the fact people went, "Ooh, but what about this? This is really brilliant. Oh, you can't get that anymore."
And I always wondered whether or not it was the model or the basis for the Synth, because it kind of felt very similar in terms of the way it worked.
Yeah, very closely related. Yeah,
and the sound. I mean, and again, the Synth, what a great machine. Again, completely unappreciated in its time, or rather, maybe not unappreciated, just unavailable or too expensive in its time.
Yeah, it was pricey.
Yeah, very pricey, but so was a Moog, a memory Moog, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
But great sound. It was a really, really good sound, and quite unexpected coming from Krumar, I think.
Yes.
Well, there you go. An interesting and exciting little piece of news. Just it's nice to have something different. That's that it's not just somebody else churning out some.
Wouldn't it be nice if it had aftertouch and wobbliness and
Steady.
Thanks to Tom for breaking that story. Just keep an eye out for that, and
Nice.
hopefully later on this year we'll see one of those in the flesh and maybe hear it as well, and be able to make a better judgment on how well they've done. So congratulations, well done, Krumar.
Krumar, send one to. We need 3 because we need to check it in mono and stereo and another format that has 3. That's what we need. Yeah.
However that works out.
I don't think that's good
Send
enough.
them now.
Yeah.
Krumar Spirit, well done. Let's see, what shall we do next? Let's do one more thing, and then let's say one more thing. The next thing we'll do is this. Let me just bring this up on the screen. So you remember last week we broke the news. We told everyone that Dr. Yu Endo, who is the guy behind Sonicware, was doing his own little side projects, and the first one was going to be a recreation and an advancement of the ELZ1 or ELZ1, depending on which side of the Atlantic you're from, which is this wonderful little kind of rucksack synth, I think is what they call it. And they had announced 200, a short run of 200, and they all sold out in less than a week. And so they've done another 50. They've managed to negotiate for a final extra 50 of them, which you can now pre-order. There's only a few left. I spoke to the guys there yesterday, and about half of those have gone. So if you want the other 25 or so, go get them now. Because if this does well, which it will, and it already has done, it will most likely get put into the main Sonicware range at a later date, and that may be a little bit more expensive. The other thing that they announced was that should they sell all 50, then based on the outcome of a poll, they would put in either a string physical modelling engine, as well as all the other 14 or 15 engines that are already in there, or they would put in a shimmer reverb. So the great public voted on this through many channels, on their webpage, on YouTube, on their Facebook page, and the votes were totted up, and we can reveal, or they revealed, but we'll reveal it again, that this was the winning engine. go. So that's the string engine called Strings, which will join the other 14 or 15 engines, which include analog modeling and granular and wavetable, I believe, is in there. There's a whole bunch. It's just an amazingly powerful little thing. We've got one coming here soon, so fingers crossed we'll be able to give that a run through shortly. So that's the one that has won. And Ben's already posted the link into the chat if you want to go and avail yourself. Don't ignore the little banner at the top. Don't get complacent. The banner at the top still says, let me show you here, it does still say there are 50 left, but I spoke to Takahiro, their marketing guy, a day or so ago, and he said, yeah, about half of those have gone. So if you want to go and pre-order one of these, there it is. There's the website, which is dr.uendo.jp, and it's the new ELZ1 Play. It's available to pre-order now, and will be made in a limited run of 200 units first, and then the next 50 will come out and be shipping in November, a month after the other one. So fill your boots right now. It's a wonderful little synth. It's one of those synths that everybody seems to ask Sonicware, when are you going to do it again? When are you going to put it back into production? But apparently the stuff that they the designs and the chips that they were using to build it pre-pandemic are now just like ridiculously high in price, so they couldn't sort of feasibly do it. So he's reworked it, and here we have the ELZ1 Play. So go for it. $599 US, and that includes shipping free to the US, European Union, and the UK. But of course, be careful of import duties and customs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, go for it. There you go. Right.
Well, and guess what?
What? You just bought one?
I'm just going to let you know. I'm just going to tell you. Go on. Free shipping, yeah. Continue to payment, yes, do it.
There you go.
Pay now.
What's your credit card number?
Yeah, come on. Read your credit card number out and I'll put it in for you.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's what an idiot has on his luggage.
There you go. There's another one down. There's another one down.
I love this thing.
Declined. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Don't tell anyone though, because it would be terrible if it got out that I bought something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just got it. Got it. Loved it. I meant to, but yeah.
I missed out on it first time round. I didn't really know much about it first time round. Then when I got into Sonicware with all their live-ins, I was like, I'll get one of the. Oh, I can't get one of those anymore. Oh dear.
And that's a nice engine. That physical modelling strength. That's a nice engine.
I mean, it's got. They did list them here. There's
14. It's got
14
loads.
or 15.
Yeah.
Bonkers. So you got a low bit oscillator, a standard oscillator, a custom oscillator, a DNA explorer. The one that I really am interested in is the sand flute engine, where you extract and generate tones from noise, which I think is dead clever. I'm talking about this. I can actually throw this up on the screen. There you go. There's a psi grinder. There's masked noise. There's 8-bit wave memory. There's 8-bit wave memory morphing. There's an FM mode in there. There's an FM synth. There's all sorts of things in there. It's a remarkably powerful little device, and of course now it's been updated. It's got a drum looper and a recording looper in there as well, and those drums are compatible with the drums that you can build on the Sample Trek, which is their most recent, or one of their most recent items. So yeah, there's some really, really nice stuff on there. So I think I'm very excited, and I'm sure you are too, Andrew. Are you feeling a bit left out, Kemp?
No, because eventually I will get some money, and then I will probably get one of them. Although I must admit, I'll be plugging a normal keyboard into it because it looks like you're just playing a load of drugs, really, doesn't it? So it just like I'm going to play my distal G keyboard.
Yes.
So.
Well, that keyboard has been improved. It's actually now velocity sensitive.
Well, yeah, that's just going to make it even more difficult. I'd rather just go for a conventional keyboard into the back of it. Thank you.
Well, there's plenty of connectivity at the back. There's full size MIDI and USB and everything on there as well.
Yeah, there's what's not to like.
Exactly. What is not to like? Well, congratulations to Dr. Endo for a successful project, and hopefully many more to come. And yeah, there you go. Right, I'm gonna tell you a story about what I did last weekend.
Want to tell you a story?
I want to tell you a story. So last weekend, and I just want to. It will be happening again next year. So if you like what you see, come and join us again. So every year at the Centre for Computing History in Cambridge, that's in the UK, not Massachusetts. There is an event called Synthesize, which is put on by a guy called Tony Jewell, and Tony gathers up people like me who bore the backsides off of things, talking about synthesizers, and we bring along some gear and we just sit there and we play around with it. We talk to people about it, and lots of paying customers come along and they have lots of fun. And we did it again this year, and for the last few years I've been taking Fairlights because of that whole computer connection. But because it was the 40th anniversary of the DX7, I felt obliged to grace the show with an original DX7, but also some other bits and bobs too. So these photos were taken by friends of the show and friends of mine, Chris Strellis and Charlotte Cox, who were there. I did take 2 or 3 myself, but I was just so busy all weekend just talking to people and showing them all of this stuff that I really didn't get round to spending a lot of time. So here we go. This is half of my little stand here. So you can see the DX1 was there. I took the TX816 and the FS1R and the QX1, RX11, DX7, and then just off to the left you can see the Modi X7 Plus. But this baby, so I was so nervous about taking this out because it is a big and heavy and very rare and expensive thing. And it had been playing up, as many of you will know. And the night before, I spoke to Tony. I said, look, she's not happy. She's not really working properly. She'll come on for about half an hour and then just decide that she's had enough. So I put it in the car, and I got it all the way to Cambridge, which is only about 40 minutes away from here. Popped it onto the stand, turned it on first thing on Saturday morning, and it was even worse. It wasn't doing anything apart from all of the red LED displays at the top were showing the number 7. Maybe it was celebrating the DX7. I don't know. But it wasn't good. So I popped the hood and I unplugged all of those connections from the distribution board and just give them a, the rudimentary blow in there, just to get any dust out. Put them all back in again, turned it on, and it worked first time. And it stayed like that for the rest of the show for 2 whole days. It was on for about 8 hours a day. And it just got nicely toasty, and it worked, and people loved it. So, yeah, DX1 in the house.
It's such a lovely looking thing, though, isn't it? The wood, I mean, it's... Yeah.
Got wood?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get wood when I see this. So...
That moved one of them today. Down in the workshop.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, they are heavy.
They're not really a one-man job, are they?
No.
So yeah, there we go. That's me opposite a whole bunch of BBC Micros and Nimbus, RM Nimbuses and 380Zs and 480Zs and all that kind of stuff, which is all part of the museum's display. But this is me talking or testiculating, as I like to call it, to whoever would care to listen about the history.
Get off my lawn!
Yes. And of course, Mr. Spong only had to go and meme it.
Yeah, of course.
Which I thought was rather amusing. And a couple of others have done similar things. And I'm game for that. I like that. But thank you. It's nice to be a meme. There was also a wonderful gentleman there by the name of Bob Pearson, and Bob was part of the wonderful Cheetah, and he brought a whole bunch of stuff from his archive. So there was this wonderful little box. It's just like a little wedge box, but it's actually a digital wave synthesizer.
Didn't know that existed.
Very, very nice indeed, that was. He also brought, this is where the software that I use here to show, I need to look at the thumbnails. So this was the other thing. This is the MS6.
Oh, God,
which was,
I know these.
Yeah, analog multi-timbral synthesizer module based, I believe, or not based on, but inspired by a very famous synthesizer. And basically, Bob was saying that they took one look at this original synth and said, yeah, we absolutely need to do something like that, but we need to do it a lot cheaper. And that synth was this beauty, which he also brought along, the wonderful Jupiter 6, which is, the more I look at one of these and hear one of these, give me this over an 8 any day of the week. As you can see, yeah, I would really like one of these over an 8.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just something about them. He also brought along, and I'm just trying to see if I can find it in here.
It's a lovely thing, the 6 and the 80. The MK, I preferred the MKS 80 to the Jupiter 8. I did. I owned both, and I preferred the MKS 80.
Yeah,
just the sound. Some people don't, but it's a lovely thing. Look at that.
That's a Cheetah SX16.
Wow.
16-bit stereo sampler.
Yeah, that's the biggie. Yeah.
Yeah. So you had all of this stuff. There was a controller keyboard there as well, big, like weighted controller keyboard. He was saying they sold for like 250 quid back in the day. And the 250 quid back in the 80s was a fair chunk of cash. But by stand, no, that's not it. Where is it? I can't find it now. Anyway, there was that. So there was that. There was some of this going on. Some all black sledges there. There was Charlotte brought her lovely TR-808. Eddie was there. F Rose, whatever his number is at the end of that, he was there. If you can see, actually, so this was Eddie's gear to the left. He brought a whole bunch of these things as well, pedals. He'd got his bass guitar and was showing how he triggers synthesizers and puts things through all of this stuff and makes it sound wonderful. What else have we got? Oh, yeah, Chris brought his Transcendent 2000.
I love the Transcendent.
Oh, little baby girl.
Yeah.
What else was there? Let me try and see.
I've got the Polysynth.
You've got the Powertran Poly.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
There was lots of, obviously, because it was a computer museum. There was CX5Ms, there was Atari STs, there was Amigas, there was Spectrums and Commodores and all sorts of different things like that.
Nice.
There's the Modi X7, which, do you know what? Didn't get a lot of love.
Well, it's new.
Yeah, people would sort of come out to me and go, "Oh, that's nice," and then they would move on to something else.
Yeah,
so,
that's like putting that in an antique shop, and nobody's going to look at it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that's far too new. Move on.
Yeah. Chris also brought Prophet 12 and one of his modals. I'm not sure if that's one of the early ones that he got. He's got some rare modal stuff. And what you can't see, unfortunately, I don't have a picture of, is just to the right of Chris there was the wonderful and godlike genius that was or is Paula Maddox, ex of Modal. And she brought another modal synth along with her third wave as well, which I have to say sounded lush. I mean, really, really lush. And I desperately want one, but they're $5,000 over here in the UK. So, but yeah, that's a whole bunch of pictures that I managed to cobble together. But if you haven't ever been to the place, it's like a tenner to get in on the day, and I think they do it over 2 days, and I think they do like a combined rate. But not only is there, there was another room. So in the main museum room, they had lots of people with experimental stuff. So Sheila Dixon was there, who does the MIDI SID stuff. So it's all based off of SID chips, but she hand builds these little units. They're all based off SID chips. So she was doing cool stuff there. There were people with. There was a guy showing me, and it was a real blast from the past. He'd got a Roland MT32 clone on a Raspberry Pi, and he was showing me the difference between onboard sound cards from, 'cause I hadn't seen this for about 20 or 30 years. The onboard sound card quality and then the MT32 quality, but all done on this little Raspberry Pi. And he was playing Lemmings, I think it was, and we were kind of switching between the audio, and it was very impressive. There was some really really cool stuff.
Just out of interest, which was better?
Oh, the MT32 by a country mile. It was, in comparatively. I mean, I remember one of my first sort of like proper big brand synthesizers was my Roland Sound Canvas, and I bought the VL version, and I didn't know what the VL version was. It's just that it was on offer at Turnkey in London, so I bought it. And turns out the VL version of the Sound Canvas was the one that's specifically designed to be used by PCs and gaming specifically. because a lot of those DOS-based games had soundtracks that were programmed in general MIDI or stuff that was kind of just pre-general MIDI, so you could get a really great kind of musical game experience with one of these things. So it wasn't as if it wasn't until like a few years later that I kind of discovered this, and then managed to find a whole bunch of DOS games and run them through the sound canvas. I'm like, whoa, it's very, very good. But yeah, Raspberry Pi MT32, which was a very clever little thing.
Nice.
And another computer-related thing is, of course, your entry price includes entry to the full museum. So not only can you synth nerd out for a while, you can go and look at some really cool computers and play video games and arcade games and all sorts of other things. But there was, and I got to see, we've got to see Charlotte and Chris and Paula and Bob and Eddie, and a whole bunch of other people came down that frequent this show and others. Steve Sims was there, and yeah, it was just great to meet a lot of people and have fun with synths. And she came back, and guess what? She works still. Yay.
Hey.
So it's all good. So yeah, maybe she just needs to be taken out. She's like my wife. She needs to be taken.
It just
out
needs
every
a
now and
punch
again
in the solar plexus now and again. That's all. Like most DX ones.
Like a Ferrari, just needs to be driven hard somewhere.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Ollie. You had me at arcade games. Honestly, Ollie, you would love it. If you haven't been already, you'd absolutely love it there. It's a cracking place. But thank you for your donation of €5. It's much appreciated. But yeah, it's a
Actually,
really fun place.
I need to contact Ollie about some RAM I see that I think he might have in a dusty drawer somewhere. If you have any, I think it's P2111.
There you go.
He'll know what I mean.
He'll know what you mean.
Because I don't.
So yeah, put that date in your diary, sort of like July of next year, around that. I haven't got an exact date for next year's show yet, but it's well worth coming down. And people were coming down from all over the country to this event. So it got to be. I met a guy who frequents some of the Synthy Facebook places, and he said, "Oh yeah, I kind of have two passions in life. One is synthesizers. The other one is flying vintage military jets." And I'm like, "Ah!" And he said, "Yeah, oh yeah, you must come and see us. We're down at North Weald Airfield, which is just down south of Cambridge." And he flies the de Havilland Gnat, which was the
that's a brilliant plane.
Yeah, it was my favourite. I absolutely hated it when the Red Arrows
trainer.
went from but the Red Arrows went from that to the Hawk, and I did because I loved the Gnat, and I was so disappointed, and so I'm definitely going to go down and watch him fly his Gnat around as one does.
Say that in public.
Some really great people, and Bob Pearson from Cheetah is a legend, a proper, really nice guy. And I said, we're going to have to get you on the show. And he said, I love to come on, but I can't until somebody else's legal case is over. Because there's a guy in America who's an English guy who was part of the Cheetah group, apparently. It's well documented. He got extradited to the US for massive tax frauds and all sorts of other things. And is set to go down for a very long time, but he can't really talk about anything to do with Cheetah until that's all done and dusted, because he's kind of he's not involved as such, but he is connected to the proceedings. So, but we'll get him on for sure. Yes, but yeah, no, really good day out. So looking forward to Gearfest next weekend. So that should be fun, and then a few months later it'll be Synthfest, and then it'll be Christmas. And then the year
then it'll be Christmas, yeah.
I know. Anyway, let's move on. Let's get back into talking about some stuff. I'm going to leave the thing that we talked about at the beginning till a little bit later on, because I just want to get these things out of the way. This is an interesting one. I saw these guys at Super Booth, and I didn't really I was kind of put off by the fact that they were wearing lab coats, which I think is just a little. You're stretching it a little bit,
Pretentious? What?
Yeah.
Oh, get off, darling.
I have to say, the Solar 42 from Elton Music does look like a very wonderful thing. It's kind of Buchler-esque in its performance part, but semi-modular, and it's got it looks great, but it's sad. It's microtonal and polyphonic, of course. And yeah, it does sound great. In fact, I'm not. The only demo that I could find was the Sonic State demo, and I didn't have. Well, Nick's on holiday, so I couldn't get hold of Nick to say, "Do you mind if I can, play this on the show?" So if you want to see it, go to Sonic State to their YouTube channel and have a watch of the video they did. But you can see, looking to the left here, you've got this little box with a key and a switch with a flick-up lid. You can see the vibe they're going for here. This is a slightly cut-down version of the Solar 50, which had 10 voices, I believe. This has only got 4 drone voices, but it does sound rather nice. I know, guys, did you get a chance to listen to this? Is this something that might interest you? Anyone have a go with this?
I had a listen to it. I watched the video.
Mm-hmm.
And I get why some people will get very excited by this. I get it. I mean, the controller's kind of okay, but I couldn't see anything really it was doing that you can't do lots of other ways. I think maybe the video itself put me off because it was the same drone all the way through.
Yeah.
It could have been a bit creative. It could have had some chordally stuff. It could have been done in all sorts of different ways. So I found the video just annoying. I wanted to hear more of it. So I suppose I have to wait and see. Can you tell me though, the little eyeballs that we're seeing everywhere, are those proximity?
There must be like photo sensors or something. That you can
photo sensors.
Waggle your fingers or other appendages in front of.
Yeah, I mean it sounded okay. It didn't do it for me. I mean, I can see why it would. Didn't really do it for me. And do you know how much it is?
No. In a word, no. I think there is. Oh, here you go. No. Here we go. Pre-orders are open. You can pick up your Solar 42 starter kit for €1,500, excluding the shipping. Includes the Infinity cartridge, 5 patch cables, and a power supply, along with your Solar 42. You could buy all 12 cartridges for €100.
So what do the cartridges do?
You're asking me.
Yeah, I just don't have a sense of. I don't have a sense of what it's capable of from the video. So that kind of just turned me against it a bit. But I kind of. If someone does a really good video of this, I'll certainly watch it again. But
there's literally nothing else on YouTube apart from Nick's video. So. Yes.
Is it like so you say it's a cut down of the 50? There are videos out there for the 50, I think.
Yeah, the 50's got 10 and this has got 4 voices or 4 drones or something.
The 50 doesn't have the keyboard though, does it? Or the controller at the bottom.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Okay.
I didn't go and check this out. I was more interested in other things. I think these guys were in the same room as Michelle. I'm sorry, but Michelle wins hands down every time for my attention when it comes to stuff like this. But no, it's certainly interesting if that's your thing. I mean, it is specifically aimed, I think, at a particular type of musician.
Steve Albo says the Behringer version of this will only have one knob.
Just like it's bored. Yeah,
parts are effects, apparently.
Oh, there you go.
That's what Goo. 1,600 if you need the cards. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this, Mr. Spong?
I don't think it's for me, but I really like it. It's got that sort of like it was designed by the Krell kind of vibe to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
You don't know exactly what it does, but sometimes the power meter goes up.
Yeah, I kind of want to like it because it does look like I should. It's got lots of knobs and things on it that are a bit mysterious and yes, Krell-like.
Well,
yeah,
we've had
I like where it's coming from.
Yeah, we've had a spate of machines that are literally covered in controls of all different shapes and sizes, and not necessarily in an organised fashion. This does seem to be laid out in a fairly easy to understand way. I think I could find my way around this if I felt so inclined, rather than just look at it and go, where the hell do I start? This seems, to be quite an obvious machine with depth as well, of course. But it's interesting.
So I'm assuming this is really only only something you'd use with a modular setup, or am I wrong about that?
I don't know.
I can't see MIDI on it.
I've got no images or just have a look at the information here. I mean, yeah. I would imagine. Let me just flick through.
We can just make it up because we can make it up.
No, I don't like doing that. I don't like doing that.
You should do
it. It's got RS-232, Ethernet 4,
coaxial.
Yeah, the company
output.
disappeared in a single night. Nobody knows what happened.
Music website.
There's not a lot about it on there either, to be honest. But yeah, that's the Elta Music Solar 42.
I think it's quite interesting.
It's nice to, again, like we said last week, I think, and several times. It's just good to see. It's really good to see people creating stuff.
Yeah.
The fact that, to be honest, none of us know what it does and have found out enough about it is neither here nor there. We ought to revisit this. We'll try and get some more info on it.
When there's more info on it.
Yeah.
There's something very Soma about it, though, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's sort of like, whoa, hey. Yeah. You don't learn it, you just...
Well, it's funny because when I played Nick's video, I think Nick had got sponsorship from Soma on the Super Booth coverage. So there was one advert, and then there was the Soma advert, and I thought, oh, it's a Soma product because it can't. Yeah, I saw the picture and then realised that was an advert, and then it was something else. But
apparently, it has mini MIDI.
Mini MIDI. Such a thing exists.
Little itty witty thing. No,
like S-Video plugs, but without. Yeah.
One bit of
It's
data
a
at
big
a time.
drone monster synth.
Yeah. Good luck to him. We will bring you more on that, hopefully, as and when we get it. But Elta Music is the company, and go and check out their website. Go and check out the video on Sonic State's YouTube channel, which is full of wonderful, wonderful content. This one's quite interesting. Let me play the video.
Entertain
first.
you.
Here we go. Have a look at this. Want this. I really kind of want to like it because it looks cool. It looks very retro with that joystick on there and the coloured buttons. But I'm just not convinced as to its practicality and why you would want this over anything else. But then I started to think about it a little bit more. Alternative MIDI controllers aren't just new toys for old boys. They can be a way into producing content if you are maybe physically disabled in some way. If you have limited movement or limited perception or whatever, this might be a really cool way for you to start making music. This is from Digit Music. It is the oddly named CMPSR Composer, I guess is what they're going for there. Put musical freedom at your fingertips, they say. Perfect for aspiring DJs, beat makers and producers from beginners to pro. It grows with you. Music software, samples, tips and tutorials included. I don't know. This is just... I just thought it was kind of unique and a little cute. couldn't really see a purpose for it. Certainly not in my thing, but yeah, it's just another way of inputting data through MIDI into a music computer environment. Guys?
Hmm.
Is that it?
Will it be available in the NHS? Well, that's what it needs to be. Because, like you point out, you know, if you've got a disability, this is going to be pretty cool. As long as being able to use your sample pack and assign it to what direction it will trigger it is going to be easy to do as well. Because I noticed that the increments between the bass notes he was playing didn't match up with any keyboard that I've ever seen. So, I can see that. Where the advert says, "Oh, you know, it's good for DJs and producers and what have yous, and you know, young and old and all the rest of it." Basically, people who can't play keyboards. So if it helps, fine.
Yeah.
Not for me.
I spent some time on Sunday when I was at the synthesizing talking to a young lady who is really into alternative MIDI controllers of all descriptions, and when I sent her this link, she was like, wow, that's right up my street. She has lots of different things that are all connected up to Ableton Live or sample players of some description. She does a lot of this kind of triggering stuff, and it's fun, and she's getting a huge amount of joy out of it. I don't think she performs or anything. You know, this is just for her own personal taste. And you know, if you can hook this up to your iPhone or to your laptop and just start coming up with cool tunes, I'm all for it. You know, it's just, it wouldn't be for me, but you know, the more I thought about it, the more I thought, for somebody with limited physical abilities, whether it's with your hands or whatever, this is a great way of being able to enter in MIDI information in a musical fashion, obviously linked up with the correct software. Mr. Longhurst.
Yes.
Any thoughts on this?
Yes, lots.
Go on then, go for it.
I think it's easy to get. It's easy for people of a certain age, perhaps, who play keyboards very badly, to get hung up on the alternative controller thing. There's a lot of really good music out there that's been put together by people who aren't keyboardists, who aren't keyboard players. They aren't guitar players, and it's very easy to poo-poo those people and say, they're rubbish. They're just taking a loop and they're grabbing this, and it's all bits from other people, right? The thing about this, which I really like, is that the way it works is that you're having to perform it. Now, I can see this being something you can do live. It's almost impossible once you've got it programmed with whatever you want. I'd love to know more about the programming of it, because it looks pretty cool. But for someone that's not musically technically gifted, I think it's a brilliant thing, and there's lots and lots of people out there who do stuff. I remember when, I don't know if you've heard of Elderbrook, brilliant first album. Look him up on YouTube. Elderbrook is an astonishing guy, made a really good album, launched it at the London Aquarium and did a live YouTube stream for that. I heartily advocate you go and checking it out, and you will see as he's playing, he's not playing all of it. A lot of it's it's already pre-done. But my God, he performs well, and he looks like he's doing the thing, right? He looks like he's hitting things, and then you notice it carries on playing when he's stuff like that. However, he performs, and the music he's come up with is really good. And there's a lot of people out there that are able to perform. And guess what? That joystick, that topology, and some buttons that you can then program. I'm not entirely sure exactly how it works. I think it's great. And if anything which encourages people to play, I think most people that play and start enjoying it will then want to explore further and either find other controllers or maybe go and get one of these or a guitar or drum. They might get any number of things. Anything which encourages people to play is good. And the one thing we know about music is it's all about the performance.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you can have a billion knobs there. The very gifted few that we have here that go out and do live mic, electronic music mic things, EMOMs, and they're performing live there. That's not something anyone can do. And just because you've got the kit doesn't mean you can perform. And when you get a performance right, you do one of those right, it's an amazing thing to see. And it's not traditional keyboard skills, or it's a whole other thing. And so yeah, I love it. I think it's a really, anything which encourages people to play, I admire. I think it's a good thing, and I think it's something it's certainly worth looking at.
Yeah.
I really do.
It retails for 200 and there we go. Add it back in the stream. £299. You get the joystick control, which is velocity sensitive as well as that joystick will respond to velocity. 8 RGB pads underneath it. I do love that they've got a DX100 here in the advertising shot. You also get a copy of the 8-track version of Bitwig, over 1 gigabyte of ready-to-go samples, tips, tricks, tutorials, and templates, all included for your £299. So yeah, velocity-sensitive joystick, 8 musical performance pads with RGB lighting, key scale, chords inversion, smart sustain over 5 octaves. Haptic feedback, so you get vibration through the stick and the unit itself,
and that's going to be good. Just that is going to be really cool.
Rechargeable long life battery, connect wirelessly or via USB-C, plug and play with no experience needed. Lots of video content for you to go and check out. It does seem like a really cool little thing, and I can just imagine that if you are maybe you are a DJ or an EMOMer, and what you want is something to trigger a bunch of stuff. You don't want another keyboard on your desk. This is a great little way of being able to interact, and it's a paradigm, joystick and buttons, that even people like our age have grown up with, from the days of Ataris, having a joystick and buttons. We're all fairly familiar with that paradigm, so I quite like that. Yes, there you go. The Composer from Digit Music. It's available now from digitmusic.co.uk. Works on PC, Mac, iOS, and Android. Again, covering their bases there. So
Android.
Indeed, all very good. So yeah, if you want it, go and support that company now. Right, well, we've got about half an hour to discuss the what does the Penguin of Death want?
He approves it.
Oh, good. Okay, there you go. So maybe they can put that on their website as well. As a
Penguin of Death approves it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Right. So, first of all, before we move on to our news topic, we've got some live footage here of Korg's R&D department at the moment. This is live.
Dude, I can't feel my face.
Hey man.
Okay, well, so what is
good
it?
Shit.
So,
Talk about how to keep in suspense.
yeah, so we got some news came through, and it was announced at 5 a.m. as Korg tend to do over here in the morning. I was expecting it to be Modwave SE. It wasn't. It was anything but Modwave SE. What we got? Well, let's play the video, shall we? Here we go. This is brand new from Korg. It's available now. Korg Gadget VR is what that is. It's available to buy now, either directly in the Oculus Rift store, or you can buy it, I believe, from Steam as well. So if you have a Steam account, you can go and get it there to use with your Oculus Rift. It's about $22.99. Yeah, $22.99 in the Oculus store. Honestly, I did not know what to think about this, because I'm all for cutting edge technology and moving on and where we might go next. But I do not for a second. I mean, I've got consumer VR here. I haven't got an Oculus, but I have VR here, and I've tried to interact with even the most basic things, and it's the resolution, the accuracy isn't there. My colleague at Gear News, Robin, said I get arm ache after about 10 minutes of trying to do stuff, in a VR world. I just don't think we're there yet. This will happen. I do not doubt for a second that this will be a thing in the future, where we have virtual studios that we can just tweak in with a headset on, or some kind of projection, or whatever it might be, long after I'm gone and buried in the ground or whatever. I just don't think this is there yet. Cool that it's there. $22.99. It's not breaking the bank at all. Of course, you've got to have an Oculus Rift to do this, and I'm sure that maybe Korg will be looking at moving it into other VR platforms at some point. But I don't know. I don't know what Korg are smoking at the moment, but I want their dealer's phone number. Guys, help me out here. I'm kind of lost for words.
Can I jump in?
Of course.
Fairly recently, in one of our fairly recent episodes, I said about VR. We were looking at VR.
Yeah.
And I've discussed several times that the problem with VR is not that you can't program something, an instrument. It's about how you can play it, how you can interact with it, and tactilely, be able to get that feedback, right? And we've just seen this controller, the Digit Music controller with the joystick with haptic feedback. Mm-hmm. Not entirely dissimilar. I mean, you think about the controllers. If you have a look them up on, look them up. The Meta controllers, headset. They come with hand controllers, with joysticks, buttons, all sorts of triggers. And we've been working with controllers for a while. And when I saw this, the first thing I did was get hold of my, immediately talk to one of my partners in designing this kind of stuff, and he's a real head on these things. And I just said, have a look, and he just went, oh my god, cool. So then we started talking about how one might, control this. Probably the most interesting thing about this is, I think when I was thinking about it, which was my mistake, we all get things wrong, right? Especially talking about tech. I was thinking of a single instrument, and how do you do that, and how do you control this? From what we've just seen with the Digit controller, the fact that people can perform without having any musical skill is good. What Korg have done here is really very clever, in that they've got an entire suite of different sounds, different sound making things, and yes, it's all it's either pre-programmed or you're creating loops. It's the best realization in VR of a music studio that I've seen. It's actually very impressive. The control, there is going to be this problem with fatigue, and also with head movements and whatever else. But when I was talking to my partner about this, the guy that does all the sort of Unreal stuff, really does the Unreal stuff. We were looking at whether or not, as you get close to something, you essentially can do a proximity thing, which moves the target that you can display to the closest thing, so it locks onto it, and you can make your adjustments up, down, left, right. You can do whatever, and it turns out that it's not as hard to do as you might think. Then it's just about the spacing and how you deal with that. So if you make the assumption that you're putting some notes in, you can draw them on the screen, or you can tap a keyboard and just go boom, 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 or you can use some preset bits and pieces. Then the rest of it becomes about how you craft the sound. And as we could see, crafting the sound isn't that hard, and doing it with so many all in one space is really cool. I still think you're going to end up with a lot of fatigue, but there is a way to reduce that and make it more make it easier. And again, this is about a performance. Can you get to the point where you're fluent enough with it and familiar enough with it that you can build up an entire performance quickly? I can see this actually ending up on the EMOM circuit as well. I can see someone turning up with whatever they're using as their host device, projecting that up onto a screen, putting their headset on, and then putting together a whole set with this. I think it's cool. I think it's another step. I don't think it's there yet, completely, but I think it's cool, and I think it's a really. I've got to take my hat off to them. They did something so clearly I didn't think of, which was doing the entire suite, and it's very clever. I like it.
I mean, Core Gadget in itself.
And it's 22 quid.
It's $22.99. Yeah, absolutely. So it's not like it's hundreds of pounds. Obviously, you require the hardware beforehand. But Core Gadget itself. I mean, I've got some of the Gadget devices on my iOS. Just some of the free ones, and they're fun, and they work together quite nicely. And I know that people that make music in the iOS world think very highly of gadgets, so it's a useful thing. And now that they've kind of virtualized it into this VR world, it's interesting. There've been some interesting comments coming in the chat. So, for example, Ian J. Cole, our resident Korg distributor, says, I think it's to get the kids interested. Absolutely. If this gets young people into making music in any sort of way, that's a good thing. It will serve as a gateway into our world. I'm assuming that Steve means our world of music technology, for those who aren't there yet, for $22.99. BG Ollie says, at least it's priced like the novelty is. So
actually, put the novelty to one side. You said earlier about the digit being something for people who are disabled. And I'm not sure I entirely agree with that. I think it's fair. But this, if you are someone who has, who's either paraplegic or quadriplegic, and is using some sort of eye control to do things, there will be a way of linking that to the kind of controller stuff in a headset. It's actually, you could open up a whole world to a whole bunch of people with this kind of stuff. Aside from anything else. So I think it's a really good first step. I'm going to have a chat with Korg and see if we can't, because we do a lot of work on this. I'd like to bring this into Unreal, because we do so much work with Unreal, and we do so much.
Well, this is all built on Unreal. It uses the Unreal Engine.
Does it?
Yeah. It's been developed jointly by Korg and Detune Limited, using Epic Games' Unreal Engine.
Okay.
Now, am I right in saying our dear departed friend Dom was looking into all sorts of musical capabilities with was it Unreal? Yeah, it was Unreal.
Yeah. You can use the blueprint.
He was building synthesizers
to create synths. Yeah.
Very cool. Ken, if they bring this out in PSVR 2 format, would you be buying this?
I'd certainly give it a go, seeing as it's so incredibly cheap.
Yeah.
That there might be a while before that happens, though. I would assume, because they've gone very much the what would you put it, the path of least resistance, shall we say, by going with the Oculus and then the PC route. So it's going to be interesting using it, for sure. But my main gripe with it is there's nowhere for Noah to sleep. That's the problem. So if I have a studio that Noah can't go to sleep in, he'd be very, very pissed.
I'd love to know if
I'd
love to know if it will export the MIDI or the controllers to a studio setup or to external stuff. I'd love to know if that's going to happen as well, because that would be kind of interesting.
Well, it'd be done within the computer itself, wouldn't it, I suppose. So the usual shipped out the usual ways, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than anything else. But no, I'm surprised. I thought it was going to be something absolutely useless, and in actual fact, just the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking, no, this was a smart move. This is a smart move.
Yeah, it is.
Well, certainly it's a step towards. I mean, we said this when we talked about the Apple Vision Pro, that people were saying, oh yeah, but it's a step in that direction. And whilst it might not be there yet, it's on its way. I'm sure. According to the website, it supports the Meta Quest 2 and Pro. There are no plans, it says, to support Vision Pro at this time. No mention at all of PSVR. I don't know what the installed user base numbers are on any of those formats, but I'd like if it came on PSVR, I would probably give it a go.
I think it's more about a licensing thing.
Yeah.
As much as anything else, it will be. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
the fact it's developed on Unreal means that it can be ported across. The software can.
But Oculus is more open source, as it were.
Yes.
So it's much easier to go down that road and get the stuff done and out there. Or Apple turn around and go, or, Sony with Apple and go, oh, we'll come up with our own.
Yeah, but isn't when we play around with synthesizers and hardware, isn't the fact that we can actually grab a control or move a slider in just that technique where you put your finger top and bottom of a slider and you just push with one of them just to get the slight little movement. You can't do that with VR. You can't do that
yet.
You can actually. No, you can. You can do really fine tuning. There's all sorts of ways of doing that, especially with the hand controllers. You have ways of just incrementally. You can do it so it's 0.01%, 0.02%, then it's 0.5%, 1%, 2%. You can change the number of steps you're taking depending on what whereabouts, how far you're pushing something. So you do have that, and it's about getting used to that.
But in this environment, you can only sort of like, literally, it's like having the MIDI loop pack. You can only just put events up on the screen. You can never have the keyboard in front of you.
Well, there are.
If you did that, I'd be laughing.
You could see there are keyboards. You could.
Sorry,
you could press a keyboard. So.
Yeah, but I mean, actually,
it is in between.
Kosh was saying in the chat, this isn't hardware, and I absolutely accept that. It's between VSTs and hardware. And if you look, when you see, the demo, they've recreated these virtual hardware instruments. There was a box with knobs and stuff on, and this is where I think maybe the improvement needs to be made in my eyes, and certainly to make it work in my head, is instead of trying to emulate the hardware in software, create a new interface that is specifically designed for use with VR controllers and VR interactive elements, rather than producing a virtual box with virtual knobs that just because it looks like the hardware. Produce something that doesn't look like our traditional hardware, that actually really lends itself to that VR world, and then it would make, in my head, it would seem to make more sense.
Well, this is a good start anyway. But
absolutely, very good start.
Well, you know how the VR2 can do like a scan.
Yes.
When you're setting it up, so it does a scan of the room and the environment you're in. Well, if you're doing it for the studio, if you could have like your controller in front of you, and let the VR do a scan of your keyboard, and then have that represented within the 3D space, so it's you're kind of there. If you see what I mean. So you're visually seeing what you're playing.
I was talking with my me and my friend Dave, my colleague partner Dave, were talking about this, and there's you could essentially, there's ways of it bringing MIDI into Unreal. So you theoretically you could do that. You could start. There's ways of doing that. At which point you go, well, but however, listen. it's a really good start. I just think it's really smart of them to have done so many hardware devices. So many soft things which look like hardware in VR. How long before, if it takes off, and at this price I think it might, how long before they actually bring out the hardware versions of those boxes?
Well, those boxes have existed in, on these devices for a while now. But it would be interesting. Maybe that there is the halfway house is that they bring out a controller, a hardware controller that looks like the instrument that's in VR, and like Kent says, you do a LiDAR scan of your environment. It picks up, maybe there's a QR code on the box, and it picks up that the box is there, and then maps all the controllers to your hardware box, which is connected via Bluetooth or something. And then you've got a hardware controller, rather than just using the wands or whatever you want to call them. There's a hardware controller on your desk, and what you're seeing is you controlling this thing in software, but you've actually got some knobs to grab onto, and we all like a knob to grab onto every now and again.
Yeah.
And this conversation that we're having now and thinking about, what if and does it? Because until you've tried it, until you've got unless you've got an Oculus headset, fortunately we do, although I haven't had a chance to try this yet. These conversations are going to be happening a lot. It's going to be happening a lot.
Yeah, nice one
VR
from
sees
Dr.
you
Mike.
Why are you wasting time on me? It's another way of engaging. It's another way of engaging.
It's progress.
Yeah,
it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
This is an unexpected, significant, and good step.
And
it's not perfect.
Korg
Well, there was something
reputation.
like this on Steam, wasn't there? At some point. But I don't know. This seems a little bit more. What's the word? Prepared. It's got a tighter feel to it.
Well, apparently this has been in development for a few years. So, and you've got a company like Korg who have a good track record of partnering with developers. Like in this case, it's what was the name of the company? I can't remember what it's called now. D-Tune, I think they were called.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're the same company they worked with when they did, because they did, and I've got it somewhere, because my kids had Nintendo DSs. I've got the DS10, which is an MS10 on your Nintendo DS, so you can play it and mess around with the stylus or your finger, and it's essentially a model MS10 in a Nintendo DS, and they've done other things. I believe they did an M1, I think, in the DS format. So Korg have got a reputation of partnering with clever developers and bringing out quirky ways of getting their instruments into other people's hands rather than us.
Well, this is still technically infant technology, and but at least by doing this, the feedback alone they get back from this, in terms of of how it works in the real world.
And who came up with the Chaos Pad?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So they're already used to that. The whole idea of X, Y, and this is a start of something, and we'll see where it goes. But it's a really good first step. Yeah. I've got to applaud them.
Yeah, I'm really surprised with that.
Yeah.
Ian J. Cole.
Korg have redeemed themselves over the.
Yeah, they have.
When I saw it last night, I thought, oh, really? I mean, come on. But, over the last 24 hours, and certainly the last half an hour, talking about it.
The more you think about it, you go, no, wait a minute, this is actually quite a good idea.
But I don't think I'd like it, personally, right now.
I think we know what happened with the designs for the SE range, which is everyone's been sitting in Korg inside of VR playing with this stuff, and they say, "Have you got that new design out yet?" What? Oh, hang on a minute.
Oh yeah,
just put it out as silver and call it platinum.
Just change the colour of the metal. They'll go for that.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah. But,
how much we charge? $2,000.
Be interesting to see how
I'm playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, how that plays out, and where that goes. But we'll
Yeah.
keep an eye on it, and
It'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah. Oh dear, bless them. Korg, gotta love them. So we didn't see the Modwave SE like we thought we might this week, should I say? Maybe that's next week.
Who knows?
Bring us all down to earth with a bump again. So.
And sorry, can I just apologise as well, because I have given Korg a really tough ride on this. And
We all have.
Yeah, and I was awful about their marketing department. I know what it takes to be, doing dev and being a product manager and marketing, and I know it's not the easiest job. So, Korg, forgive me for that, but you could have done a better job on that. You could, but forgive me for that, and I apologise if I've ruffled any feathers.
I don't think they worry about it really. All feedback is good feedback, and it's all.
Why did you do it?
Except at a Who concert.
I went down a rabbit hole. Ended up at a Who concert the other day because I was talking to Steve at Synthesized at the weekend, and he mentioned. Did he mention the Who? Or we were talking about DX1s being used out, in the wild. Yeah. And do you know, I've watched Live Aid. I watched it live in '85, and I've watched it whenever it's been on TV. And I think I've got the DVD somewhere. And I never noticed that John Rabbit Bundrick, the keyboard player with the Who for many, many, many years, had a DX1 on stage atop his CP80.
Really?
Never noticed it. And of course, you go to YouTube, and boom, there it is. And it's just like in all its glory. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I started going down the rabbit hole of seeing bands with DX1s on stage and feeling their pain.
Well, they were reliable. Well, they were.
Yeah.
Back then,
they still are. Still there.
Yeah.
Still there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's getting better.
Yeah.
It's getting better.
I think if I took that to Sheffield, it wouldn't work.
Sorry, what's that again?
Jazz Coleman loved his.
Oh right, yeah. Is he still around?
Do you know? I don't know, but he loved it.
So yeah, that's all the news topics. We've got about 5 minutes left.
Look at that.
Yeah. So I had an interesting week here because I think I've mentioned this on the show before that I was loaned this pack, which is a rare Yamaha demonstration pack from 1984, 1985.
Yeah.
And I'd been trying to get it playing in my QX1 without any success. And then somebody said, "Have you tried cleaning the discs?" And I said, "What, you mean the disc drive?" They said, "No, the actual discs." And so I went online and looked for 5 1/4 inch floppy disk cleaners, thinking I would never get anything. And do you know what? There's a guy, I think he's in Rugby somewhere, I might be wrong, but he 3D prints these little caddies, and you put your disc in there, and then you have a little clamp, and you put the bottom end, on the underside, and then you screw that down, and then you place the disc in the holder, and then you put a little damp cloth on the window with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, and you just use the little thing, you turn it around, you clean the disc. I did all 3 discs in that box, and they worked first time.
Wow.
And so I've been listening to rather amazing demonstrations of the TX816 and the RX11 played all through a QX1 all week, and I've just one of them is actually the theme to Saint Elsewhere. Do you remember that, the medical drama, the American medical? It was like the precursor to ER and Grey's Anatomy and
the one from Devon, wasn't it?
Yeah. But yes, and Elsewhere, the theme, the guy who composed that, Dave Grusin, actually performed the track that was used on the TV show entirely with a TX816 and a QX1 and an RX11.
I've just cleaned this afternoon with Tiny. We've just been cleaning the GS1's magnetic strips.
Oh yes, yeah.
On Fiona's best tea towel, apparently.
Nice.
We didn't know it was her best one. I don't know what
depicts
a tea towel becoming best.
Oh.
But they work. They all loaded in. Card reader.
Yeah.
And all your crockery is now mildly magnetic and slightly brown
and slightly cracked from the dynamics from the bottom end.
Yeah. I think that describes me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There you go.
Yes. So there you go. That's what I've been up to this weekend. Well, this week, should I say? It was quite a moment when it all worked, and then Simon Alexander came round. And as he walked through the door, I pressed play, and it was like, "Is that it? Is that it?" I was like, "Yeah, it's it." So that all bodes well for the seminar that we're doing at Synthfest, which is going to be
Good.
rather cool. So if you want to hear some of those tracks live, or the sequences played live, live at Synthfest Sheffield on October 7th with Dr. Manny Fernandez, 2:30 we're on stage, so come along. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure, as always. We've had a good little chat about stuff. And thank you for your time, and it's been most pleasurable. If you got anything interesting lined up this weekend, or maybe in the week coming?
Who, me?
Well, anyone.
Oh, Ian. What about Ian?
No, you.
What, me?
Yeah, what's Penguin of Death doing this week?
Yeah.
Penguin of Death is mostly eating blancmange this next week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's
A
taken on
euphemism?
the electronic music theme, and he's eating blancmange, and I'm not quite sure how that came about. What do you think? He's given me a filthy. Sorry, Penguin of Death. Yes, what am I doing this weekend? We've got new gravel. We're the garden's coming together. That's good. So I'm hoping to get. It's going to chuck down with rain. I'm hoping to get a telescope up, so that tomorrow evening.
Oh dear.
Tomorrow evening.
Use a lot of lube then.
We can spy on the neighbour. No, tomorrow evening we can, I hope, have a fire pit and be looking up into the stars.
Nice.
That's what we're planning.
I used to have a telescope. My uncle used to try and get me into astronomy, and I had a what was the big brand begin with a T? Is it Tasco?
Tysco?
No, not Tysco. It began with a T. Anyway, I had this
Telescope.
Telescope. No, it was
Tamcron?
No. It's gone now. It's gone. Anyway,
Telescope?
I had a telescope.
Tampon.
And he used
Trevor?
to then, point out the different stars, and we'd look at them. But it wasn't that powerful. I was always a bit disappointed that
White one.
They were
Twinkly
just
one.
larger white dots.
Yeah.
Bit of a
that
red
was
one.
it. So I've always hankered after a proper reflector with
Yeah.
azimuth and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
One day.
Turns out, because we've only just decided to get into it, the last time I looked at stars properly was through one of those sort of wobbly, extendable telescopes.
Yeah.
That didn't even show the moon at the same size it was when you look with the naked eye, one of those ones. So, turns out that when you're a knobhead and you look for reflecting telescopes, because they look like the sort of thing you see on the sky at night, big mirrors and everything else, most of them are dreadful. It turns out, and you can pay an awful lot of money for something that's absolutely dreadful. So I found someone to help us pin down the right one, and we're just going to try the one we've got, which we got second hand, and we'll see how it all
It was Tasco. I've just googled it. It's Tasco. That was the
Tasco.
name. They were big in the 70s, apparently. That's when I had it. So I'd love to get one day.
That also sounds Devon.
Tasco.
Might just say it's
Pascal.
Jimmy Savile. So
What?
you can't really gauge it, can you?
Say what? What did you say?
I said so is Jimmy Savile, so you can't really gauge it.
Oh, God. There we go. Now that is time to draw proceedings to a close.
Quick.
Ken,
What?
what are you
Before
doing
the
this
lawsuits
weekend?
Now what?
Coming up week. What are you doing?
Oh God, where to start?
Employing a lawyer.
Yeah, there's just so much going on. Yeah, but I've been fending off lawyers from yesterday's show, tomorrow's show.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, actually, that's probably true as well. So, yeah, no, there's a lot that I'm going to burn in the GS1 or set fire to it. I can't remember which it is.
Either
but
way,
one of them.
It'll
Yeah.
burn.
Do you think Steve Picaro misses it? Should I send him a
don't know.
picture of it or something?
Yeah, tease him with it.
See?
Tell him you can only
Yeah.
have it back if you come on the show again.
Nah, yeah.
He probably thinks it's still in Africa.
He probably thinks it's still in his studio. What do you
I
mean?
think
What are you doing
that
with it?
deserves one of these.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Yes, so there'll be that. And there will be a few other items of interest that I have to get sorted out, including that Maestro.
Oh yeah, the Russian one.
Yeah.
Maestro.
Poor year.
And are you doing a pub tomorrow night?
Yes. Yes, on request. Apparently, Fiona wants to be able to watch this stupid bloody French thing tomorrow, so I don't want to watch it.
Hoik you upstairs. Yeah.
I'm going to the pub.
I'm going to watch the Wham documentary after this. I'm going to get my daughter from work, and then I'm going to sit down with a glass of wine and watch that Wham documentary and relive my teenage years. Wham. All the girls wanted to be with them, all the boys. Yeah.
You were still a teenager when Wham come out?
83?
You were still a teenager?
I'd only just become a teenager. Not that bloody old.
Well, how old are you then?
I'm 53 in about 3 weeks' time.
Oh, God, he's a young'un. I didn't know he was a young'un. Did you know he was a young'un?
I'm only 27.
How old did you think I was for flying fig's
I could have been
sake?
talking down to him all this time. And man, I mean, come on.
Yeah, stripling. You're a mere
go
stripling.
my lawn. Yeah.
Mere stripling.
Well, you look good for your age.
Thank you. I think. I'm going sulk now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dear.
There must be another meme in there somewhere now. I'll have to have a look.
Lots of puns in the coming into the chat room.
And what are you doing this weekend, young Rob?
I'm going to go and see my eldest son in his new abode. Go and check that place out. And then I've got all of Sunday basically to myself. Well, not to myself. Well, probably will be to myself because my daughter and my wife are going to see Lana Del Rey in Hyde Park at the British Summertime Concerts. And I guess my lad will be with his partner, the youngest one. So yeah, I should probably just be in here, sitting here, tinkering, reading my new book that I got today from so predictable, bloody predictable.
You're not obsessed at all, are you?
This was actually written by an old acquaintance of mine that I used to know back in the days of the Elise's Fusion, a guy called Klaus Rausch in Germany. And this is the English version of the book, and I've already dipped in, and I don't know who did the translation, but they need taking out and shooting. But no, it'll be an interesting read. So
I do have, however, one sort of a bit of a conflict, so I'll be quite glad of the pub. There is this weekend, my wife being something of a Wimbledon fanatic. So it's wall to wall, whereas I am an F1 fanatic, and it's Silverstone. So I'm just going to dodge the whole thing, watch it all next week. I'm going to watch it next week. So I'm probably going to creep in here tomorrow evening and go, Kent.
No, I must admit, I'm a bit...
Call and I will provide.
If we're not sitting outside.
Yeah.
Yes.
I may be wobbly.
Indeed. Anyway, gentlemen, I'm going to draw things to a civilised close before we go completely off the beaten track. It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you to everyone that's been watching and participating in the chat. We've had some really good numbers tonight, so that's great that we're hitting some good targets. I don't really have targets, but yeah, we're doing well. Thank you for watching. If you're watching on catch up, thank you for coming back and seeing us. Leave your comments below if you like. That would be fantastic. We will be back same time, same place next week, and we will have as our very special guests Dan and Mitchell from Cherry Audio. They're coming back on the show because there's a new Cherry Audio synth dropping on the 11th. We know what it is. It's good. It's a lot of fun, and they're going to be coming on to tell us all about it next week, next Friday. So if you want to know about the new Cherry Audio synth and what went on behind the scenes and why they chose that one and so on and so forth, come and join us next week at 7 p.m. UK time, and whatever that might be in your part of the world. We'll be here with those guys. And have a great weekend. Have a great week. And we'll see you all then. Gentlemen, thank you once more, and have a great time. See you all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.